All right, welcome everybody. Good to see you. Just wrapping up Virginia. Obviously a very disappointing finish. To give up a 13-point fourth quarter lead was, again, just very disappointing. We did a lot of good things. I felt our offense was in a really good rhythm. I thought we threw the ball well, we ran it well, we converted short yardage situations. Defensively, we were really good on third downs. We created some turnovers. We didn't close the deal. And we knew going into the game it would be a four-quarter game. I thought it was a game on both sides that the talent level was fairly equal. And when the talent level is fairly equal, a lot of times it'll come down to one play either way. And again, credit Virginia. They made those plays at critical times, and we didn't. All we needed was one more first down and kick a field goal, or one fourth down stop. And so I think in a lot of ways, our program is kind of going through a reset, almost kind of like we were 8 years ago, that we're learning how to win again. And, since kind of 2021 and 22, obviously our roster's been blown up quite a bit, and we're, I think, building it back. It was good to see us play well against an ACC program in a lot of ways. That was probably as complete a football game as we've played against ACC competition in a long time. And that's where not finding a way to win it at the end was really disappointing. And so, this week the challenge gets even tougher. What a football team Ole Miss is. They've probably figured out a way to embrace college football in this day and age as well as anybody in the country. They historically have not been an SEC powerhouse. And what Coach Kiffin and his staff have done the last 2 years, now going into this year, and what they've done is they've fully embraced what college football is. I think, 46% of their roster is transfers. About a quarter of their roster just got there this year. They've got 35 transfers on the two deep. 27 are from Power 5 schools. They took 8 players from our league. And so really it's three things, okay? It's you have to have resources, which they've clearly made an institutional commitment that they want to be an elite football program in the SEC, in the national picture, and their institution has been all in. They're fully invested in resources. But you just can't have resources. You have to have an eye for talent. And they have evaluated extremely well. There are players that they've brought in. And, some of these guys, like Walter Nolan was the number one player in the country. That's a little easier to say, hey, that's a guy we got to have. But their receiver, Trey Harris, came from La Tech. And so what they've done is they've done a great job of evaluating, and then the third piece of it is coaching. How do you deploy these high-level players? And the way they're deploying them is really high-level coaching. So on both sides of the football. I mean, Lane has a deserved reputation of being one of the top offensive coaches in the country. His offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr., I think has been with him a long time, and anybody I know that's worked with him speaks very highly of how smart and how bright and what a good coach he is. And, Lane kind of reunited with his friend from Alabama, and they're doing a great job on defense too. So, they're averaging 64 points a game, and they have yet to give up a touchdown this year. But where the coaching comes in is as fast as they play and as wide open as they play, they've turned the ball over 7 times in the last 15 games. So last year they turned the ball over, I think, 7 times the entire year. They only had 1 fumble they lost the entire year, and they haven't turned the ball over this year. And so it's not just throwing a lot of talented players out there. When you're that efficient and that careful with the football, there's a lot of really good coaching going on as well. So this will probably be one of the toughest challenges we've had. Maybe until going back to some of those Clemson teams that have won the national championship. But I can tell you this, our players are excited about it. They really are. I think they're embracing the challenge. They know it's going to be hard. They know that every single one is going to have a tough matchup. But I just think this is how you challenge yourself and get better. And, we'll see. We'll see. But I can tell you our guys are excited. We've had a good week of practice. And although we were disappointed with how that game finished, I do feel our team came out of that game believing that we can be a good football team this year, because there were things on both sides of the ball, I think, that gave us optimism.
On that note, Dave, how important is it that happens given how last year went?
That what happens?
The team comes out believing that they can be better even though it's a loss.
Well, you've got to find ways to win, Connor. I mean, I've done this for 36 years and 25 as a head coach. And, you kind of go from, I almost feel like last year felt a little bit like 2015. Okay? And so now we're back in these games, and now we've got to find ways to win them. And so what we did in 2016 and 17 and 18 is we won a lot of close games, and then guys start believing they can find ways to win games, and then you start getting good and more talented, and then you get to a 21 that you win 11 games, and only one of them was a close game. The other 10 were multiple score games. We're not where we were in 21, clearly. We're probably not even where we were in 22. I do think we're better than a year ago. I want that to show in the win column. I think if you watch our film, I think we're better. There were not too many games last year that it looked like we were a competent offense. I think our first two games this year, it looks like we have a competent offense again. We can run the ball, we can throw the ball. I think between Damon Claiborne and Donovan Green and Taylor Moran and Deuce Alexander and Horatio Fields and Tate Carney, I think we've got some good skilled guys that can make plays. Defensively, I was very worried about how we defend a run after the first game, and we defended the run really well against probably a better football team. So I think the pieces are there. I want it to come together as fast as possible, and that's part of our job is making sure that happens.
Follow up to that, Coach. Saturday night after the game, there were some very clearly emotional players, very upset, very down. How long does it take to kind of regain that mojo from that?
I mean, I don't know, Tony. How do you answer that question? I mean, when you lose a game like that, I would want emotional upset players. I mean, our guys have invested a lot, and they care, and it matters to them. And, I mean, I didn't sleep at all Saturday night. I mean, there was a pit in my stomach the whole night. And, games like that, Tony, I still have a pit in my stomach from losing to Towson in 2007 at Richmond. The pain of some of those losses doesn't go away 25, 20, 15 years later. I mean, that one, but you got to get ready for the next one, and you kind of wish the joy of beating a Louisville with a last-second field goal in 21 matched the pain of losing to a last-second field goal against Duke in 2023. Somehow those things don't balance out. But, again, I want our players upset. I want them to care, and if they came into that locker room and they were smiles and giggles, then we've got a problem.
But do you feel their psyche is kind of rebounded now they've moved past it on the field?
Tony, you want me to give you the cliche answer? Those are unanswerable questions. I think everybody goes through their own little recovery, healing process, and you have no choice. You have a game the next week, so we talk about the 24-hour rule. And how real is it? I don't know. But you got to get ready for the next game, and all you have to do is put film on these guys. I mean, if, I'm a Wake Forest offensive lineman and I'm upset we didn't score another red zone touchdown, you better get over it quickly, because this guy, Walter Nolan, is probably going to be a first-round draft pick. There's one rep that you're not ready to play, he'll embarrass you. They're two defensive ends are NFL players. Their quarterback is an NFL player. The receiver. I mean, this is a team that again, in all my years here, 11 years here, I would say this is one of the most talented teams we've ever played. And they have done an amazing job of constructing a roster and getting the pieces to fit. And, Coach Kiffin is he's very smart. I think his NFL experience helps him. And in this day and age, that your ability to raise money and pay players, Ole Miss has done one of the best jobs in the country of figuring out a way to have an elite football program in 2024. And they should be congratulated for it, and it's really incredible what they've done.
On Saturday, it felt like the fourth quarter you guys got away from the run a little bit. I know you've talked at length this year.
You know what? People say that, and then I go back and watch the film, and we really didn't. If you watch some of those fourth quarter drives until the last two-minute drives, we really did try to run the ball. That was my thought too. Like, geez, we kind of abandoned the run, and then I watched the film, and we did call run plays. So, we didn't execute as well. But we tried to get them on the ball, and we did. We got off schedule a little bit, and we got into some third and longs, and the one killer was when we had the ball third down on the 35-yard line, and this is just where you hope as time goes on, like the play we ran wasn't the play we called. And so we checked to a play, and it wasn't exactly the look that we wanted, and we just should have kept the play on and tried to get 6 or 7 yards and then kick a field goal. It was a look, and Hank thought he saw a look and checked to a play, and we did not want to force the ball down the field there. We wanted to get a 5, 6, 7 yard play and get ourselves inside the 30 and kick a field goal. And then when we threw the incompletion down the sideline, then we went for it on fourth down, and it was just into the wind. So, we were at the 35-yard line. I just didn't feel good about a 52-yard field goal into the wind. And then we end up going for it on fourth down and get sacked, and then we give them a short field. And it was just really, a really poorly managed series on my part. Because you're at the 35-yard line and you're 3rd and 10, and if you get an 8 or 9 yard play, our fourth down conversions were really good. And then if you just can get the ball inside the 30, now you're talking about a 45, 46 yard field goal, and Matt Dennis is kicking the ball well, and who knows? But trust me, after a game like that, you go back and look at every single call, and at a certain point, you just got to stop beating yourself up. No, he's the starter. So he's played really well, I said last week that we wanted to get Michael in there, but there wasn't a predetermined pattern to do it, and I just thought Hank played really well, took care of the football and made some great throws, and used his feet really well, and that's kind of where we are right now. You never say never, and we're continuing to give Michael reps because, as I've said many times before, I think there's 1 year here that we've ever gone through the year with one quarterback. I hope we can get through the year with one, but I have a lot of confidence in Michael Kern, and he's a competitor and he's disappointed, but at the same time, he is a A1 first-class teammate, human being, person, and that guy comes out every day and gives us his very best. And because of that, he's still a very viable option for us.
Dave, Donovan Clawson Shuffle obviously played the whole game and came out unscathed. Just talk about his performance a little bit.
Yeah,
He's all he can play now.
Oh, he's good. Yeah, so the first game he was limited, and then because he got through that game unscathed, the second game he was we were free to play him. And, clearly we're different when he's in there. It's a player's game. I think one coach said coaching can't overcome recruiting. like you can coach your butt off and you can do all the right calls, and if their players are bigger, faster, stronger than yours, it probably doesn't matter what you called. And so when we have Donovan Green and he can get open against one-on-one coverage and find holes in zones because he's 6'2" and can jump 42 inches, we're a better team. So I don't know. It's funny. Our passing game's a little better now that he's out there. Yeah, I'm sure Mitch would have loved to have him last year.
Your evaluation of the defense from Saturday, was it more who was doing it or what you were doing? I know that's one of your main lines of thought.
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed how our front played the first game, not the second game. I mean, Dylan Hazen, Branson Combs, Kevin Pointer, oh my God, those guys played their butts off. We're challenged in the secondary. When last year was over, I thought our secondary this year would be, Mustafa, Carson, Jones, and Evan and Anderson. And, we had, I thought, the makings of what could be maybe the best secondary we ever had here. And it didn't work out that way. Two of those guys decided to go in the draft. We were hoping we could keep both those guys there because of where their draft grade was, but obviously they made great decisions because one's starting and the other's on an active roster, and the other guy decided to go in the portal. And, I think we have some good players back there, but they haven't played together very much. Some of these guys are playing Power 4 football for the first time ever. I think the speed of the game is different, and we had some communication breakdowns back there that I think are a direct result of just how new they are. And so that's where, I look at what an Ole Miss does, and they got a bunch of new players, and, they keep things fairly simple and let those guys play fast and hard. And, we just had some breakdowns, and it was just communication that I just think comes from a lack of playing together. And so you hope those are things that get better, because if they don't, we'll probably give up some fourth quarter leads again. Yeah, I'd say he's doubtful this week. So, we're still hoping. He tried to go yesterday and it didn't feel great. And, we're hoping he'll try to go tomorrow. But, it just might be a point with him of, hey, shut him down, let him get through the bye week, and then hopefully we have him healthy for the last 9 games. Yeah, just C.D. Kelly and Zamari are both practicing better than him. So those guys have passed him by.
Dave, it may seem like a bit of a silly question, but when you look at the
What is the response? There are no silly questions. There's just silly people who ask questions.
when you look at the Ole Miss film, you look at Jackson Dart, what scares you the most about what he can do?
Well, he just isn't such command of the offense. Like, the ball goes where it should, when it should. I think one of the things you want your quarterbacks to do is throw guys open, not throw them when they're open. And he's a great athlete. He's got really good feet. He's extremely accurate. He's completed 87% of his balls. That's hard to do on air. And, even though the competition level hasn't been SEC, like an 87.5% completion percentage, I don't know if I've ever put that stat line up more than a game statistic. And, he's probably a Heisman Trophy candidate. So, he's legit. And if you look at Lane's history with quarterbacks, he always seems to get the best out of whoever he has. When he had Matt Corral, he had a great year, and he had a bunch of guys at Alabama and at USC. And so you have a guy with talent and a coach that knows how to coach him, and that's when you're really good.
Dave, you mentioned that the talent on this Ole Miss team compared to some of those Clemson teams, those national championship squads. For you as a coach, as you prepare your team for this game, the challenge, since it's a less
football game in a long time.
You know, I'm going to give you what all reporters love. I'm going to give you a great cliche here, but it's really applicable. Like when you play games like this, you got to play the next play and the next rep. You know, I was sharing with our team, you know, you look at, right, what Northern Illinois did it against Notre Dame, or whenever games like that happen, I think it's because teams have the ability to stay in the moment and to just play the next play. And if you just play the next play and stay in the moment, and then you get the game to the second quarter, and then you get the game to the second half, and you get the game to the fourth quarter. You know, in the games that I've been a head coach that you're double-digit or 3-touchdown underdogs, that we've found a way to win, those teams just played the next play. You know, it's almost like blinders, don't look at the scoreboard, just do your job the next play and the play after that, and just repeating that over and over. You know, then you find yourself with a chance to win a game. But if you start trying to play the whole game at once or worry about all the different things they can do, you know, that's when games like this can get away from you. You know, so I think a great example, and it's, you know, it's not completely appropriate, but, you know, in 2017 when we played Louisville and Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, we were coming off of a 3-game losing streak, and I mean, that game was huge. I mean, that game right there, you know, you go back over 11 years and you say, like, what are some of the games that if you don't get, maybe the program never flips? I think that was one of them. You know, that Lamar Jackson came to town. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. And we just played, you know, back to back to back. I think it was Clemson, Florida State, and at Georgia Tech. And we had a 3-game losing streak. And, like, you know, as a coach, you're like, okay, you know, it's 3. And we had, I think, just lost to Louisville the year before by 1 point. So our guys knew they could compete with them. And, you know, wow, what was that? What 6? No, that was 15. We lost by 1 point. 16 was that was the other game. Yeah. Well, anyways, we had a little chip on our shoulder. See, I need Coke. Coca-Cola here when I pound. So we had a little chip on our shoulder because of the 2016 game. But anyways, our guys, I thought, came out that week with a real resolve and a real determination, and it was probably one of the best games we've ever played here. You know, Greg Dortch, I think, had 3 or 4 touchdowns, and John Wolford played incredible. And, you know, the first play of the game, we hit Scotty Washington on a fade versus press man coverage, and we just started rolling. But we just played the next play. And so, you know, we've played really talented quarterbacks before, and this is certainly one of them. And there's plenty of challenges, but we don't control them. All we do is control ourselves, and we just got to go out there and play the best game we can play.
Maybe you have a couple of core positions, guard and tackle. What can you tell us about the status of those 2 positions?
Why don't you refresh me what the oars are?
Oh, sure. You've got Nick Sharp or George.
So right now those 2 are dead even. We consider them both starters, and we're kind of going to alternate starts between the 2 of them until one pulls away from the other. And if one doesn't pull away from the other, we'll keep alternating the starts. And we're also rotating those guys with Matt Gulbin. So those guys, it's like a 3-way roll. Matt usually plays the most snaps. You know, Matt usually plays probably, you know, 80% of the snaps, and that way we get those other 2 guys over 50% of the snaps. So we really feel like we have 3 starting guards. It's the same thing with Eric and Keegan. Now Eric was a little banged up last week, so Keegan played more. But we're trying to play 7 offensive linemen, Tony, and keep those guys fresh and try not to get them worn down. And not as much, but we also every now and then like to give Devontae Gordon a series off. So every now and then we'll play Keegan at left tackle and give Devo a series off just so we can be fresh in the fourth quarter if we have a 2-minute drive we need or a 4-minute drive. I think the two guys that have really stood out as kind of ready for prime time are, Devon Patterson and Deuce. And then, Tyler had a really good game the other day, and Mike is coming on. It's not going as well at receiver for him as maybe he'd like, but he's been really good on special teams. He's been great on punt coverage, and he keeps playing hard, and we're just going to keep rolling him in there. And, I'm very optimistic about where he's going to be. But those are probably, if you'd say the second-year guys that are playing the most for us, clearly Deuce, Devon Patterson, I think, is the one second-year guy that's starting for us. Those guys are going to be all ACC level players at some point in their career here, and Mike is coming along, and who else? Rashawn Tung is going to be a really good player. The play he made on the kickoff return, I don't know if you saw that one. That was, he's had two of those great effort plays now 2 weeks in a row. The punt return against North Carolina A&T, and then the kickoff return tackle he made. I mean, that thing looked like it was going to break out, and he just made a hell of an effort to get that thing on the ground.
You guys good?
Did I shock you with my?
Thanks, guys.
All right, see you down there.